So for my three theories, I decided to do UDL, Universal Design for Learning, Connectionism, and Mindset. So for my first three, I really want to use UGL because I really like the idea of being able to teach the needs of every student in the classroom. For example, in my future classroom, I really want to incorporate materials that are going to be accessible for all type of learners. That way my students will have, for example, many options for reading such as print, digital text to speech, audiobook. With that digital content, they will be able to increase font size, look up a word, use text to speech, or have it read to themselves, which I think is pretty cool to have, especially on a special ed classroom. Also, if I were to be teaching 2 plus 2 equals 4, I would like to introduce that concept in various ways, depending on the grade level. For example, I may use tactile numbers, symbols, number lines, charts, smartboards to model and provide examples. Or, for example, if I was teaching a unit on area and perimeter, I will provide a YouTube video or have them read a section on a book because I know some students would benefit from that. I always think that it will benefit my students if I let them know that they're allowed to complete an assignment, how it lets them meet the lesson goal, whether if they have to create a podcast or a video on Flipgrid to show what they know. That way students who struggle in one area do not automatically fall behind. Also, in my classroom, I like to incorporate UDL by having various centers, you can say, to support strategies in various learning styles. That way, my students are able to complete assignments or learn through different activities about subject in a more in-depth fashion. I like to this. I'd like to have the students group up based on their levels, and I can just assign them a color and everything. I think that'd be pretty interesting to have. So, for the second theory that I want to incorporate in my classroom is connectionism. The reason for this is because I strongly believe that student success in school is closely tied to what happens around them. So, basically, I really want to incorporate this by supporting my students when they're doing something well and having them receive reinforcement for it. For example, in my future classroom, if I catch my students doing something well, I will praise them for it. And I will try to reinforce that positive behavior the second they step in my classroom and the second they leave. For example, something I would say would be like, wow, look at Mia. She is ready for class to start. She got in her seat, wrote the agenda down, and took out her journal out. She is all ready to go. In this case, students always tend to look at that student, and most of them try to do the same thing. Not only that, but I would also like to use it when they're like doing their independent reading or their independent writing. I will probably be walking around the classroom and all of a sudden I see Bob using the charts around the classroom to help him out with his writing. And I let the class know by doing this, I'm pointing out positive behavior and rewarding those students. In this case, I'm rewarding Bob. Also, if my students are struggling, let's say, with their multiplication tables, I will have them practice those with flashcards every day. For example, if I have a teacher's aide with me, I'll perhaps have him or her work with those students while I'm reading to the class or doing something else. That way, they can practice it every day and it will help them get better until it becomes second nature to them. And speaking of students who are struggling, I would also like to reward effort as well. So struggling students who work hard gets a reward for his or her work. On the other hand, I will try to also punish bad habits so that way students who do not pay attention or does their work do not go to recess or gets to participate in fun Fridays. Things like that will get my students to start paying attention and do their work. So for the third theory I want to incorporate in my classroom is mindset, because I want to be able to teach my students about core values, to be their personal best, and to have high expectations for their social and emotional needs as well as their academic needs. I want them to feel comfortable in my class and not be afraid of participating in class. I want them to be able to express themselves and let them know that it's okay to make mistakes. In this case, I do want to incorporate risk taking, and for that, I would like to use a lot of peer feedback. I think if I would to do that, it would really help my students take those academics risk and just feel unafraid to make mistakes and just simply go from them without feeling judged from their peers. And for this, I would like to create different prompts for them, and they would be allowed to choose one, and they get to write from it and just express themselves. And after they are done, they get to get into partners or in groups, sort of like a seminar, and just give each other feedback. And obviously, I would really love my students to start with transition words such as I really like how you, or I have to respectfully disagree, or I strongly agree. Things like that will just help my students feel unafraid to make mistakes and just simply grow from them. Another last thing I would like to incorporate in my classroom is to have my students start the day with a classroom pledge. So every morning when they walk in the classroom, they will be expected to say the classroom pledge. My classroom pledge that I would love for my students to say every morning to let them know the importance of struggle and the ability for them to grow in their own capacity and to basically change their fixed mindset is I promise I will do my best even when it is hard. I will make smart choices when I'm in class and outside of class. I will take risks and accept my choices. I am brave, I am smart, and I can do hard things.